Dear learners, having understood the evolution of research and its prominence in the ever changing business world, we now move to the next important concept, which is research approaches. Now, let us understand the various research approaches in business. Research approaches are rather frameworks, strategies, or techniques or methods that guide a researcher in solving a business problem or issue. There are different types of research approaches. The researcher has to select the appropriate approach based on the purpose or objective of the research. Now, the question here is purpose different from objectives? Not really. It is just the application of these terms depending on whether research is quantitative or qualitative. While the term objective is often used in quantitative research, the term purpose is associated with qualitative research. However, the commonly used term currently is objective. So, what could be the purpose or the objective of research? It can be number one, to explore a problem, number two, to describe a problem, number three, to test the cause and effect of certain factors or variables. Now, the choice of a research approach will depend upon whether the researcher wants to explore a problem as it is unfamiliar or complex, describe the factors that affect a problem, or test the cause and effect. Why is it important to understand whether we want to explore, describe, or test? Depending on the research purpose or research objective, that is, whether we want to explore, describe, or test, the type of data will also vary. So, when we say nature of data, we mean that data is either qualitative or quantitative or both. Apparently, data analysis will also vary according to the type of data. Hence, the researcher must have clarity on the choice of research approaches. It largely depends on the research problem. We will have a better understanding of the research problem in the coming weeks. So, what are the various approaches to business research? It includes qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods. Now, let us understand these approaches in detail. But before that, we will understand the historical developments of these approaches. In the previous module on the evolution of research, we learned that research was prominent in the fields of science and technology. It gained prominence in other disciplines only during the 20th century. Hence, it is clear that quantitative research preceded qualitative research. Now, we will delve into the approaches. Let us first start with qualitative research approaches. If you have to explore a problem, then the ideal approach would be the qualitative approach, as exploring a problem would involve in-depth analysis, like you want to gain insights into the problem. For this, you might have to conduct in-depth interviews or even conduct an observation. Qualitative research approaches are exploratory in nature. A researcher chooses this approach to understand the problem or the phenomenon in depth. A qualitative approach is selected for problems that are unfamiliar or complex. So, what are unfamiliar problems? Unfamiliar problems are challenges or issues that the business entities are not familiar with. These problems can arise due to the global events, changes in the business environment, technology, or the legal systems, etc. An example of a global event is the pandemic, COVID-19. When the pandemic broke out in the year 2019, there were disruptions in the economies and business operations. Suddenly, everything went online, from education to shopping. There were changes in the way consumers started consuming services. Also, remote working, which was practiced mainly by IT companies, is now practiced by non-IT companies too. So, what are complex problems? Complex problems involve interactions between multiple factors, which makes it difficult to find a straightforward solution. At times, it is also very difficult to understand these problems. For instance, consider the fear employees would undergo during mergers and acquisitions, as a restructuring could cause job insecurity, changes in job roles, etc. Such kinds of problems cannot be easily quantified. Qualitative research can help explore and understand problems or phenomenon better. Qualitative research can also be referred to as exploratory research. Hence, it is clear that the nature of data in qualitative research will be in a textual format like words, phrases, etc. Let us now understand when to apply a quantitative research approach. The quantitative research approach completely depends upon numerical data. Data can either be collected through secondary or primary sources. For instance, consider the research on stock market prediction analysis using artificial intelligence. Here, the data will be the stock prices collected from secondary sources. So it deals with numbers. Of course, quantitative data can also be collected from primary sources. This approach helps to describe and test the relationships among the variables that affect a problem or the phenomenon. Variables are fundamental concepts that are used to explain different aspects of a problem and can be represented numerically. While quantitative research is considered to be objective, qualitative research is considered to be subjective. In qualitative research, much depends on how the researcher has comprehended the problem. The interpretation also depends on the way the researcher has understood the responses obtained. Hence, rating scales were developed to reduce subjectivity. These rating scales allow the researchers to quantify attitudes, opinions, behaviors, intentions, etc. These rating scales allow the researchers to quantify attitudes, opinions, behaviors, intentions, etc. These rating scales are also helpful in standardizing human thoughts, emotions, or even behaviors across different groups or cohorts. Moreover, in qualitative research, the sample size is small. This makes it all the more difficult to apply the solutions obtained to a larger population. In other words, the generalizability of the results obtained is very, very difficult. These are certain reasons as to why rating scales have gained prominence in research. For instance, if a researcher wants to conduct research on consumer loyalty, it would be difficult to generalize the results obtained to a larger population of consumers through a qualitative study. Whereas, through the rating scales, the researcher will be able to reach out to a larger group of consumers. Continuing with this example, if a decrease in the consumer loyalty is the problem, then this problem will have several aspects, such as poor consumer service, decline in product quality, pricing issues, negative reviews, etc. Actually speaking, all these aspects that are mentioned here, such as product quality or pricing issues or reviews, are qualitative in nature. These aspects, when quantified, becomes variables. You have the rating scales that can be used to quantify these variables. We will learn more about rating scales as we progress through this course. The next one is the mixed methods approach. This approach combines both quantitative and qualitative research methods. Most of the business problems require a pragmatic approach. The solutions to these problems must be realistic to suit the real world situation. In other words, they have to be implementable. Strict adherence to one particular approach, that is, either quantitative or qualitative, will not help in achieving effective solutions. The mixed method approach is useful in validating the results too. For instance, consider a survey on customer satisfaction. The data obtained through survey instruments are quantitative in nature. The results obtained can be cross-verified through in-depth interviews as well. Mixed methods can also be used when a problem requires multiple perspectives. There are various methods under each of these approaches that will be dealt with at a later stage. To conclude, in this session, we explored the various approaches that are followed in business research, namely quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. We also learned briefly about the historical development of rating scales. In the next session, we will delve into the research paradigms. Happy learning to you.